I'm so excited for this film, and I know we've talked about stepping into the haunted house genre. What were the kind of influences that you had as a kid in this, with the scary, ghostly stuff?
Well, it actually is very important to say it's really not a haunted house movie. It's a gothic romance. So the difference to illustrate that point is Haunting of Hill House is a haunted house movie. It's not a gothic romance by any analysis. Turn of the Screw is a haunted house movie. It's not by any amount of thought a gothic romance. Nevertheless, then you have Dragonwyck, Jane Eyre, Rebecca, Wuthering Heights, Northanger Abbey, blah blah, Castle of Otranto. So many works that are gothic romance, and gothic romance is closer to fairy tale but spooky. It has scary moments, but it has at its center the physical and spiritual journey of an innocent, pure character into a world that is decaying and insanely dark, and where a secret has been buried. And usually the bait to take that journey is a dark and brooding, handsome man. So that's gothic romance, essentially.
Nice. Now, but it's much bigger than these movies usually are. Can you talk about the style the approach you took with it?
Well, yes. I mean, we made it for about 50 million, and I think when Legendary took a look at the screenplay, they offered me choice A and choice B. They said, look, we can do it for this amount of money if you make it PG-13, or this amount of money if you make it R, and you have to take a cut on your salary, blah blah. And I chose R. I chose R because I think it needed to be that, and then I wanted it to look like it costed 2 times that.
Yeah.
But that's what I always do with the budgets. So the movie looks lavish, but it's actually dead on the budget. We're still under. As of this conversation, we're still under.
Wow.
And it's a movie that obsessed me. I think it's the most beautiful movie I've done by my estimation, and I become more obsessive than ever. I haven't finished it yet. I still have 2 shots, VFX shots that have not been approved, and I'm going to approve them next week supposedly. But some VFX shots are in version 80, 85. So it's a movie I've been trying to make people enjoy it visually and in the design of it as a part of the storytelling, you know?
What are you most proud of? What is the one shot that maybe is kind of driving you crazy because it's so great, or that blew you away?
It's funny because I'm proud on the scary side. There's a couple of really, really great scares that I've seen with an audience, and I've seen the audience jump. The movie was tested with longer cuts. People that see it now are going to see a movie that is leaner and meaner and much more nicely paced. But I think the pacing is one thing. I think it's the perfect balance of atmosphere, but scary stuff and character stuff. As sequences, I would say a couple of the scares. I won't say much, but I can call them the corridor scares. You'll remember. And then there's a beautiful scene where I try to condense a courtship in one single dance. Like I try to make a very romantic dance sequence between the characters that makes the courtship go really fast, because the idea in the movie is that the horror and the real love story starts after marriage.
Wow, dude, I can't wait. I can't wait for this. Can't wait for Pacific Rim 2. I'm just so excited for everything.
Pacific Rim starts shooting November. I'm fully committed to it. It's not an if. They may not greenlight it, I don't know, but I am committed, starting shooting in November, so that's real.
How are you? I'm Jimmy. We've talked a few times.
How are you?
I am great, and you look lovely, by the way.
Very much.
Can you talk about what was the attraction to taking on this kind of, as Guillermo calls it, gothic romance?
I just really like Guillermo. I think his films are wonderful. He's got a wonderful style, and I didn't set out to play a whole bunch of gothic Victorian heroines or anything, but somehow it's happened that way. But I would never pass up an opportunity to work with Guillermo. He's just such a wonderful guy and original, and yeah.
What was the difference between working with him and some of the other directors?
I mean, they're all so different. I guess like the main thing you learn is that there's no one way to make a film. Everybody just has a completely different way of doing it, and something that works for one great director won't work for another, and vice versa. And that's maybe the most eye-opening thing.
He has such a great style of filmmaking. Did that add to your performance? Did you feel that was kind of incentive to kind of give your best?
Yeah, definitely. And he really involves you. He wants to know your opinion, and he wants to show you stuff. And so that's really nice. I mean, it's not always like that. So that, of course, gives you a little bit more like feeling of responsibility, which is nice.
What is your favorite ghost story?
Oh, I like the turn of the screw. I think that one is so strange because you finish it and you kind of go, what just happened? And then everybody has a different idea of what happened, and so I think that's one of my favorites.
I gotta say, you're basically the best Marvel character ever. You brought life to Loki. It's wonderful. I'm from Jimmy O from Joe Blow, and I've been a fan of yours a long time. Has playing that been in that world? Has that opened up everything else for you? Have you been able to do things that you never thought you would before?
Oh yeah, to some. I mean, there's a just on a sheer sort of, just on the way the industry works. To be in those films has been an amazing opportunity in terms of people, because everyone sees them, and so it's been an amazing place to introduce myself to directors, producers, writers, studios, and people within the industry who perhaps didn't know me from my stage work in London. So on that level, yeah, it has been. But I think more than that, it was just as an actor, what you dream. I dreamt when I was in my 20s, when I was training. All you dream of is, it's very hard to have specifically detailed dreams, because so much about being an artist is about just going with the flow and making the best of what comes your way. But you do hope for great characters, for big characters, for complex characters, for characters which are fun to create and expand. And Loki, in that sense, was he's one of the richest and most complex characters I'd ever come across, and the idea that people loved watching him was such a huge compliment, and I'm very proud of it.
Well, I can't wait to see you in this too. Congratulations, working.
It's a different thing.
Yeah.
It's Crimson Peak is no superhero film. It's more of a gothic romance. It has huge elements of gothic ghost stories. From the gothic literature, from places like Anne Radcliffe and Horace Walpole, Edgar Allan Poe. But also it has this amazing romantic element that people will know from Jane Eyre and Wuthering Heights and all that sort of stuff. It's an interesting balance of being very, very scary and very, very romantic, because it's a love story as well, and it's about the awakening of a young woman and experiencing love and sex for the first time, but death around the corner. Sex and death are pretty primary instincts in a lifetime.
Cool. We got one quick question. Can you talk about working with Guillermo? All these great directors, what was it about Guillermo that was different maybe from Ridley or all these other legendary guys that you've worked with?
Well, if someone were to make an animated film and Guillermo del Toro was a character in the film, he would be a big old teddy bear. He would go around as the kind that was like really squishy, and you give him hugs, and you like love him, and he's so sweet. And there's like, when I see he's not brittle and sharp, and he's just got like the most beautiful family and the biggest heart from anyone I've ever met, which is crazy that he can make these incredibly dark stories. Mm-hmm.
And choose the best cast, by the way.
Well, that's nice to say. I think we all want to work with him. So it's never like a question of, do we want to work with him? It's always a question of, well, I hope he wants to work with me.